At Thanksgiving, my sister stood up and tapped her glass like she was accepting an award. Mom and Dad are signing the house to me. Emily gets nothing. The room erupted in cheers and whistles. I didn't blink. I just smiled, the kind of smile you wear when a storm is coming. Then I looked at Dad and said softly, "Should I tell them, or will you?" The silence that followed was louder than any words. The room was frozen in that moment, the kind of silence that makes your heart pound in your chest. Everyone's eyes were on Dad, waiting for him to respond, but his face drained of color. My sister, Jenna, who had just announced her victory, suddenly looked like she'd been caught in a lie. The cheers turned into whispers, and the festive atmosphere of Thanksgiving shattered like glass. I set my fork down carefully, trying to steady my voice. "Dad," I said softly, "should I tell them, or will you?" The question hung in the air, heavy and unavoidable. No one moved. No one spoke. It was clear that something was about to come out, something they hadn't prepared for. Before I dive into what happened next, I want to know, where are you watching from tonight? It helps to know that there are people out there who've lived through families like mine. My name is Emily Nolan, and if you'd met my family before that Thanksgiving, you might have thought we were close. The kind of Midwestern picture-perfect family you see on holiday cards matching sweaters, smiling faces pretending everything was perfect, but families like mine don't break in loud, obvious ways. They crack silently in small choices about who gets listened to and who gets ignored. For as long as I can remember, I lived in the quiet space where people only notice you when they need something. Jenna, my younger sister, never knew that space. She was the favorite, the bright, loud, charming one who relatives fawned over at gatherings. I didn't hate her for it. I just learned early on that I'd have to build my life on my own because nothing was ever going to be handed to me the way it was handed to her. Growing up, I watched my parents pour all their attention and resources into Jenna like she was a delicate flower that needed constant watering. Dance classes, summer camps, private lessons, things I was told we couldn't afford when I asked. Meanwhile, I was expected to be the responsible one, the quiet achiever who didn't make waves or ask for much. When I moved to Chicago for work, my parents called it selfish, as if choosing independence meant I was abandoning them. Jenna, on the other hand, stayed close, visiting every weekend, fitting perfectly into the mold they had carved out for her. She was the golden child, the one who never questioned, never challenged, and always pleased. Still, I kept coming home for holidays, mostly from my grandmother, Evelyn. She was the only one who saw me, the real me. Sharp-minded, with silver hair and a warm smile, she greeted me with pride and love. When she hugged me at the door, it didn't feel like an obligation. It felt like being truly seen. She'd whisper, "You're stronger than they think," and that small encouragement fueled me for another year. That Thanksgiving felt different from the moment I walked in. The air was thick with tension, like everyone was holding their breath, waiting for something to happen. Mom darted around the kitchen with a tight smile, the kind she wears when she's hiding something. Dad avoided my eyes, and Jenna kept brushing lint off her dress. Even though it was perfectly clean, when I entered the dining room, I noticed something else. An empty chair next to mine was missing. Not moved aside, not pushed back, just gone. I should have known then that something was wrong. But in my family, the signs are always quiet before they explode. I sat down, smoothing my napkin across my lap, pretending not to notice how conversations dipped every time I entered the room. They'd go flat for a second, like someone pressed mute, then pick up again with forced laughter the moment I passed. Jenna floated around like the star of her own parade, checking table settings, fixing angles on the centerpiece, whispering little aids to Mom that made them both smile. Every so often, Jenna looked at me with a tight-lipped grin, polite but hollow. Like I was a coworker she barely tolerated. It wasn't always like this. For a long time, Jenna and I were just two kids sharing a bedroom, passing notes under the door when we were supposed to be asleep. She used to braid my hair, steal my sweaters, and beg me to drive her everywhere once I got my license. But somewhere between high school and adulthood, something shifted. Jenna slipped comfortably into the role my parents built for her, the golden girl, the perfect daughter, while I slipped quietly out of the frame. The house situation started 6 months before that Thanksgiving night, long before Jenna's announcement. It was a humid Saturday in June when Mom called me, asking me to come home for something important. No details, no warning. When I arrived, they ushered me straight to the dining table, the same table where everything would later fall apart. Dad had a folder laid out like a presentation. Mom smiled too hard, like her face hurt from stretching. "Sweetheart," Dad began, "we're refinancing the house. Just a simple signature, better rates. You won't have to worry about anything." Even then, something in me tensed. My family never asked me for help unless they needed more than they were willing to admit. I flipped through the papers, heart thumping as I tried to make sense of the numbers. Something felt off. Too many pages, too many amounts blacked out, too many rushed explanations. "Can I take these with me?" I asked, keeping my voice even. "My lawyer can look at them." The silence that followed told me everything. Mom's smile faltered. Dad snapped the folder shut too quickly, like he regretted putting it in front of me in the first place. "It's just a formality," he insisted. "Why complicate things?" But I took the folder anyway. Back in Chicago, my lawyer flipped through the papers, eyebrows rising higher with each page. She didn't smile. She didn't stall. She called me the next morning. "This isn't a refinance," she said. "It's a transfer of liability. If you sign, you're responsible for their debt." "Debt?" I stared at the phone numb. "What debt?" She explained slowly, carefully, a second mortgage, months of missed payments, foreclosure letters, things I didn't even know existed. And the moment I understood, something inside me locked into place. Not anger, not yet. Something colder, something steady. 2 months later, Dad called again, this time asking for money. Not a loan, not help money. He said it was for Mom's medical bills. But when I offered to pay the hospital directly, he crumbled. The story shifted. The truth leaked out. Late payments, deadlines, desperation, and now, sitting at that Thanksgiving table, watching Jenna glow under everyone's attention, the weight of those 2 months pressed against my ribs. They weren't giving her the house. They were giving her the debt, and they expected me to sit quietly beside her while it happened. But Thanksgiving night changed everything. The truth was out, and the family facade crumbled. Jenna's confident smile faded as the weight of the debt and deception settled in. Tyler, her fiancé who had been so eager to start a new life with her, walked out, unable to face the reality of the sinking ship he was about to join. The room was thick with tension, disappointment, and unspoken regret. Stopped my grandmother, the only one who had always seen through the family's pretenses, stood up and spoke with quiet authority. "I taught you better than this," she said to my parents. "Your daughters are not lifeboats for you to climb into." Her words cut through the silence like a knife, exposing the truth everyone had been avoiding. In the weeks that followed, the house was put up for sale. My parents moved into a small apartment, stripped of the grandeur they once flaunted. Jenna began therapy, reaching out to me more honestly than ever before. She admitted she finally understood why I stopped letting our parents speak for me. For me, the experience was a harsh but necessary lesson. Telling the truth isn't betrayal, hiding it is. Families built on denial and secrets always collapse eventually. If you've ever felt alone at a table full of people who claim to love you, know you're not alone. This story isn't just about a house or money. It's about standing up for yourself, demanding honesty and refusing to be silenced. It's about finding strength in the face of betrayal and choosing your own path, no matter how hard it may be. Thank you for listening. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe for more real-life tales of family drama, betrayal, and justice. Share your thoughts below. Where are you watching from? And what would you have done in my place? Remember, sometimes the hardest truths lead to the strongest freedom.